One of the things that got my attention about the text, to your point a moment ago, about people in our society not legitimating anymore certain ideals, one of the things that got my attention was how you put love at the epicenter of what it means to use agency.
Yeah.
To value freedom, to engage your freedom, to be a citizen of the country or the world. At the center of it, at the epicenter, you put love. Now, that is in keeping most directly with Dr. King, who you raised earlier. Dr. King, Mandela, Gandhi. See, my problem has always been that we live in a world where we want to elevate, indeed celebrate the men, but dismiss it from their methodology.
There you go.
You can't celebrate Martin or Mandela or Gandhi or Bobby Kennedy or Mother Teresa, run the list. You can't celebrate these folk for what they accomplish and somehow poo-poo or dismiss love at the center of what they did. In academia, it's not so often that I hear somebody courageously talk about love at the center of our agency, love at the center of our freedom, and yet, with all due respect to your text, it's just not something, again, that is as universal as it should be, maybe even once was.
Yeah. No, I couldn't, obviously, I couldn't agree with you more, right? But this idea that, you know, we seem incapable, particularly in the academy, but, you know, even in public discourse, to say love in a kind of unworried way. You know, to me, this is very telling about who we are as people, as a people right now. You know, what kinds of moral culture we live in. You know, so that when you talk about King and Mandela and Gandhi, you know, you're talking about founders, or if not founders, the great movers of social change. And we tend to look to those figures as somehow being representative of ideas and not looking at the harder work of what it is to live those ideas and ideals. And where love is concerned, you know, that requires us to engage in certain kinds of risk, which is to say, to open ourselves up to new kinds of possibilities.
So whatever happened then, how do I want to phrase this? Whatever happened then to the notion of love in our public discourse? Because if you argue, our friend, your teacher at Harvard back in the day, Dr. Cornel West, West says this, that you can't lead people if you don't love people. And you can't save people if you don't serve people. You can't lead if you don't love. You can't save if you don't serve. So at the center of our agency has to be a notion of love and service to other people.
That's right.
Love and service. That's right. So the question then, with regard to melancholic freedom, is whatever happened to the notion of love and service at the center of our public policy conversation? Because Bobby Kennedy injected it, Martin injected it, Mandela injected it, Gandhi. So clearly, those who we've been talking about put love and service at the center of public discourse and made, as a result, better public policy. Whatever happened to that in America?
Well, I mean, but think about the formulation that you just used from Dr. West, right? That there's this connection, an innate connection between love and leadership and service. And so, you know, it seems very clear to me that it's not just an issue of whether we're willing to serve, but it's also an issue of whether we're willing to lead. You know, so Bobby Kennedy can make a call to the nation and rouse young people all over the nation. And that inspiration will be felt as a call to follow. The question then becomes, is it also heard as a call to lead? You know, so that if it isn't heard as a call to lead, then what kinds of capacities then do we have to love others, to serve others?
Is Obama on the Democratic side, or maybe even, as unlikely as it may seem, a Ron Paul on the Republican side, are they inspiring people, young people, to use their agency, to value their agency, to embrace, to activate their agency?
I think someone like Barack Obama has the tremendous potential to inspire that kind of action among young people. To my mind, the question becomes whether he'll realize that potential, to speak in more fulsome terms.
Now you sound like Maureen Dowd. Her piece the other day raised the same issue.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I have tremendous respect for Senator Obama. You know, and tremendous hope that he'll come through. But there is this, you know, I mean, in many ways, I feel like his candidacy represents the kind of moral hesitancy, the kind of tentativeness that we're experiencing as a country as a whole. You know, so that we don't feel like we can fully throw ourselves with conviction into public life. We can fully throw ourselves with conviction in serving others. You know, there's a kind of tentativeness. And if you're tentative, it's hard to love others.
Yeah.
Right?
Let me offer this as an extra question. It's not lost on me, obviously, or our audience, your heritage, your background.
Yep.
Just to ask a personal question, how does your heritage, that background, impact your notion of love and service? How does it impact the writing of a book like this about getting Americans to value their agency, to engage their freedoms?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I was raised in a household that was infused on the one hand by Confucianism and on the other hand by Christianity.
Yeah.
You know,
so you were confused, in other words. You had a very confused childhood.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Well, but I mean, what are the things that those two heritages share? They share a commitment to reciprocity. They share a commitment of respect of others, and that it's not just a superficial respect, but it's a deep respect. You know, so with growing up in a Korean household, it's about respecting your elders. It's about respecting younger people, because you know that you do not proceed in life by yourself. You know you don't proceed in life on your own, despite what you may think as a teenager, despite what you may think as a young man or a young woman, right? But that there is a network of mutual dependence that sustains all of us, even if we don't acknowledge it, even if we don't acknowledge it.
He is one of the country's up-and-coming young academics, and I love when I get a chance to meet these young persons who are making their mark on the world. He has a new book out. It's called Melancholic: Freedom, Agency, and the Spirit of Politics, a name you will come to hear time and time again. David Kim, professor, again, at Connecticut College. David, nice to have you on the program.
Thanks so much, Tavis.
Congrats on the book.
Thanks.